Greetings, Austin ISD Board of Trustees and Superintendent Segura. My name is Brandy Gratton, and I am the Assistant Director for Discipline Standards and Accountability. And I am honored to share with you today about Constraint Progress Measures 5.2 and 5.3. And I want to do that in 5 parts. First, I want to remind us of the definitions or the descriptions for both Constraint Progress Measures, or CPMs. Then, I want to share where we're currently sitting in our data for both CPMs. Thirdly, I want to share some of the root causes related to those CPMs. Fourth, I want to share some campus highlights about where we've experienced success and how those campuses have achieved that success. And then finally, I want to conclude with what are our next steps? What's the plan forward? How do we continue to stay committed to that process of continued improvement? So I want to take your time just to start with the definitions of both constraint progress measures. For CPM 5.2, it states, the disparity rate for exclusionary discipline for African American students will decrease from 11.35% in August 2024 to 7% in August 2029. For Constraint Progress Measure 5.3, it states, the disparity rate for exclusionary discipline for students receiving special education services will decrease from 16.03% in August 2024 to 11% in August 2029. Now, those are ambitious goals, and they should be, right? But I want to share what we're committed to in order to help make that happen. In Austin ISD, we are committed to creating safe and supportive academic environments through fostering those healthy relationships and proactive interventions. Now, a key focus of that is addressing discipline disproportionality, particularly for our African American students and our students that receive special education services. Our discipline disproportionality measures are tracked through CPMs 5.2 and 5.3, as I shared earlier. And just as a reminder, disproportionality is the difference between a group's discipline action rate and their enrollment percentage. For CPMs 5.2 and 5.3, the discipline actions only include discretionary offenses, such as fighting or cutting class or behaviors such as those. It does not include mandatory offenses like firearm possession or assaults with injury. And I want to also reiterate this, that when you hear me share about discretionary removals, those can range from in-school suspension to home suspension to placement at the Alternative Learning Center, also known as the ALC. Lastly, I want to note this. Our district's discipline approach doesn't merely emphasize correcting behavior. That's the lowest level, right? What we're truly seeking and what we're truly working toward is fostering belonging, fostering connection, and responsible citizenship so that every student feels valued, feels heard, and feels supported in every classroom and campus that they encounter. That's what we're working toward. Now, I want to take a moment to share with you some data. I'm going to start with some overall percentages, and then I'm going to break it down with what's the number of students that we're talking about. Now, I want to be sure to remind us of this, that when you hear this data, or when you read it in the report, the comparison data that I use from the 23-24 school year, and then also from this school year, have similar reporting periods. Both years start with the first day of school to the middle of February. So when you hear those numbers, we wanted them to be as apples, and when I say we, our discipline team, we wanted those numbers to be as apples to apples as possible when we take a look at those comparisons. So I wanted to make mention of that here. Now, for Constraint Progress Measure 5.2, as of February 21st, 2025, our district-wide data shows that we are within the CPM target of 11%, with an overall rate of 10.33% for our African American students. Now, where's the growth? Where's the progress, Brandy? Well, let me show you. In 2023 through 2024, our disproportionality rate was at 12.39% for our African American students. Right now, it's at 10.33%. That's a decrease. That is what we want to see. But it's not just at the overall district level. Here's what it looks like at each of the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Listen to this. Elementary schools have reduced their rates from 22.56% to 21.36%. Middle schools have reduced their disproportionality rates from 12.65% to 10.23%. And high schools have reduced their disproportionality rates from 10.60% to 9.60%. But the improvements don't stop there. Let's take a look at CPM 5.3. Now, in CPM 5.3, we are making progress. What I mean by that, we are experiencing those decreases. However, I want to make note that we, right now, currently as it stands, as of February 21st, 2025, our district-wide data shows that we are not yet within the CPM target of 14.50, not yet within, but showing progress. And here's how. In the 23-24 school year, our disproportionality rates for students receiving special education services was at 22.22% overall as a district. Now we are at 19.65%. It's reduced to 19.65%. This is a good thing. This is what we want to see, making improvements toward that CPM target. Our elementary schools have reduced their rates from 43.90% to 29.73%. Our middle schools have reduced from 22.59% down to 21.76%. And finally, our high schools have reduced from 23.92% down to 21.10%. These reductions are exciting. This is the kind of stuff, like my old pastor used to say, this gets me going to see this type of improvement, but not just to celebrate the improvement, to use that as fuel to help us stay even more focused and even more committed to addressing the areas that we have not yet experienced that same level of success. So carry success in one hand and carry the commitment to improve in the other. So at this point, I want to take those percentages that I just gave you and break them down to some raw actual numbers of what does that look like in terms of the students that are impacted. So here we go. Let me start with Constraint Progress Measure 5.2. In Constraint Progress Measure 5.2, we currently have 605 discipline actions over the whole district that have been attributed to our African American students. Now, just as a reminder, those discipline actions resulting in a discretionary removal could be ISS, homeschool suspension, or placement at the ALC. Now, of those 605 discipline actions, 92.34% of our African American students have zero, none, zero. 92.34% of our African American students have zero discipline actions, have zero discretionary removals. That's 3,940 students of our total population of 4,267. Now, we do have a portion of our African American students that have one or two discretionary removals, and that has equated to 6.23%, meaning we have 266 of our African American students have had one or two discretionary removals. Now, we do have a portion of our African American students that have had three or more discretionary removals. And right now that equates to 1.43% in raw numbers. That's 61 students. 61 of our African American students have had three or more removals. And I want to make a note here. Of those 61 students, 34 also receive special education services. Now, yes, do we have something to celebrate in CPM 5.2? You darn betcha, we absolutely do. And we also have work to do to address, to meet, and to connect with the students in which we have not experienced that same level of success. Now, let me share about Constraint Progress Measure 5.3. In Constraint Progress Measure 5.3, we currently have 1,446 discipline actions total as a whole district attributed to our students that receive special education services. Of those 1,446 discipline actions, 95% of our students receiving special education services have zero, none. 95% of our students who receive special education services have zero discipline actions resulting in a discretionary removal. That's 13,052 students. That's fantastic. Now, we do have a portion of our students who receive special education services who have one or two discretionary removals. 4% of our students who receive special education services have one or two discretionary removals to ISS, home suspension, or the ALC. That totals 606 students of the total population of 13,804 students who receive special education services. But also, we do have a small percentage. We have 1% of our students who receive special education services who have had 3 or more discretionary removals on the year. That's 146 students. So yes, as I shared before multiple times at this point, we have some things to celebrate and also some work to be done as it relates to our disproportionality and how our students are being connected to, related to, heard, seen, and valued when it comes to this area of behavior, when it comes to this area of discipline. Now, I want to share that when conducting this research as to what are the root causes of why we're still experiencing disproportionality on our campuses, in our schools, in our district. In conducting that research to try to better understand, some of that research was done in some of our some scholarly articles related to disproportionality, but also in those conversations with principals and assistant principals to better understand. And here are some of the root causes that emerged. One, an over-reliance on suspensions as a primary tool to control misbehavior. Two, limited training on understanding and implementing individualized education plans. Three, vague policies and interpretations of those policies of things related to, for example, insubordination or classroom disruptions. Limited training on discipline strategies other than suspensions. And five, limited time for assistant principals to review, better understand, and address the root causes of behavior prior to determining a response. So those are some of the root causes that emerged as part of the conversations, but part of the research as to why we're still experiencing some of these same disproportionalities that we've been trying to remedy, that we've been trying to work toward fixing for some time now. At this point, I want to take some time to highlight some of our campuses that have had success in reducing that disproportionality and the explicit things that they point to as key factors in how they did so. I want to highlight 4 campuses that have experienced a significant, remarkable success in reducing disproportionality. I'll talk about 2 middle schools and 2 high schools. For the CPM 5.2, I want to first highlight Travis Early College High School. Travis ECHS had a disproportionality rate of 19.86% in the 23-24 school year for its African American students. As of February 21st, 2025, Travis ECHS has reduced its disproportionality rate to 1.96%. Travis administration shares the keys to their success have been 1, campus leadership consistency, 2, building positive relationships with students, and 3, reflecting on and improving campus systems. Congratulations, Travis Early College High School. We are so very proud of you. The second school I want to highlight for CPM 5.2 is Keeling Middle School. Keeling Middle School had a disproportionality rate of 59.69% for its African American students in the 23-24 school year. As of February 21st, 2025, Keeling has reduced its disproportionality rate to 26.88%. Keeling administration shares the keys to their success have been 1, revising the campus mission, 2, building positive relationships with students, and 3, increasing data sharing. Fantastic job. Congratulations, Keeling Middle School. We're so very proud of you. Now, for Constraint Progress Measure 5.3, I want to highlight 2 more schools. The first school is Small Middle School. Small Middle School had a disproportionality rate of 54.70% in the 23-24 school year for students receiving special education services. As of February 21st, 2025, Small has reduced their disproportionality rate to 19.98%. Small's administration shares the keys to their success have been: one, collaboratively approaching disciplinary situations with administrators, case managers, and trusted adults for students being involved. Two, strategic professional development. And three, utilization of multiple campus staff in student goals. Congratulations, Small Middle School. We are so very proud of you. Our second and last school for CPM 5.3 that I want to highlight is Austin High School. Austin High School had a disproportionality rate of 42.29% in the 23-24 school year for students receiving special education services. As of February 21st, 2025, Austin High School has reduced their disproportionality rate to 10.58%. Austin High's administration shares the keys to their success have been: one, increasing support for staff; two, reviewing students' data and creating strategies to address that data; and three, building positive relationships with students. Congratulations, Austin High School. We are so very proud of you. Now, I want to take a moment just to make a note about the difference in the written report that you may see in the outlier section where data is provided about each outlier school. You will notice that for both middle schools, the actual number of discipline actions is referred to, whereas for the high school, the percentage of discipline actions is referred to. Now, the reason for this is because in both high school data, it's presented differently, because although the total number of discipline actions for all students, that number has increased. In other words, the discipline actions, those referrals that happen, have increased for the total amount for all students. The percentage of discipline actions assigned to African American students or assigned to students that receive special education services, that has decreased. And that's the data that I wanted to highlight for both high schools. But now that I've shared some of this data, and now that I've shared some of those keys that campus administration share that contributed to their success in reducing disproportionality, I want to share what's next. Where do we go from here? How do we continue to improve? And then what are our plans to address those areas that we have not yet experienced that same type of success? So I want to share this, that some of our next steps are shared on page 3 of the report, where you see some of our next steps. And those next steps are primarily around collaborating with multiple support teams, such as special education, counselors, licensed mental health professionals, and restorative practices to data monitor, provide support, and tools. But I also want to bring your attention to this page here, where we give some explicits about the plan forward. Now, I won't go into detail about every single one. You can see that in the report, but I do want to briefly share about some of them. Our plan forward includes, number one, continuing the progress with the Forward Grant, which was or is a $1 million grant that we received from the Department of Justice in order to reimagine school discipline. We have experienced success at both Keeling Middle School and Covington Middle School, which are the pilot campuses for this particular grant. And we've experienced those success because of professional development provided to staff, combined with family engagement and restorative practices, and combined with students' weekly participation in restorative practices groups. The second part of our plan forward includes continuing and expanding our discipline watch list. Now, this watch list was a collaborative effort between our discipline team, restorative practices, counseling and our licensed mental health professionals to regularly review data and partner with the campus to provide student support. This watch list doesn't just monitor data, it also recognizes student growth. And recently, this was the first year, the inaugural year, of what we deemed, or what our discipline team called, the Pathfinder Award. This Pathfinder Award was given at our Austin ISD African American Heritage Celebration, where both students who were experiencing growth and their trusted campus adult were both honored. The third thing our plan forward includes is training all communities and schools, or CIS, as many of us may know it by, our CIS staff that supports Austin ISD schools, training them in restorative practices this upcoming school year. Fourth, we'll continue those ongoing action steps of developing our discipline dashboard in collaboration with our data and analytics team. We'll continue monitoring and engaging campus administrators authentically in discipline action plans. We will continue to strengthen our partnership with our parent support specialists and increase data sharing with our executive directors and campus administration. These are just a few parts of our plan forward. Now, I want to conclude with this. Our district is proud. I think you can hear it in my voice, y'all. We are proud. I mean, you doggone it. I mean, like proud of the reduction in disproportionality that we're experiencing. Proud of it. While at the same time, even in that pride, holding that hunger to remain steadfast in continuing the work to improve, because we haven't reached everybody yet. It's like my grandma used to say, we ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. We still have more work to do. I want to conclude this time, our time together, with the phrase that I believe captures what we are working to be and what we're working to do here in Austin ISD for our students, for our campuses, and our community, which is strong schools, stronger Austin. Thank you so much for your time today, and let's continue working together.